What in the name of the gods? No, I will not yield! The tomb is opening!
For the first time in human history, the body carrying the fullness of God went cold. The heart inside Jesus' chest stopped beating. And for the next 72 hours, no one knew what was happening. The disciples didn't know. Mary didn't know. Rome didn't know. And if we're honest, most Christians today don't know either. We jump from cross to empty tomb. But that gap, that space between the last breath and the first resurrection breath, that's where something happened that terrified the unseen world. Because here's the part that should bother you. Jesus didn't say, "I'll see you in 3 days." He told a dying criminal,
Today you'll be with me.
so where was he? If his body was in a sealed grave, where was his consciousness? Where was his authority? Where was his power? Did he enter death as a victim, or did he enter it like a king walking into enemy territory? And if he descended, who was waiting for him there? Think carefully. For thousands of years, death swallowed every human being. Prophets, kings, warriors, children, all of them went down. No one came back by their own power. Then suddenly, death swallows one more man. But this man is different. This man created oxygen. This man commanded storms. This man called himself the life. So what does death do? When life walks in, did the realm of the dead realize too late what it had just accepted? Was Saturday quiet? Or was it the loudest spiritual confrontation in eternity? What if the resurrection wasn't the beginning of victory? What if it was the announcement that victory had already happened somewhere else? Tonight, we're not starting at the empty tomb. We're stepping into the hours nobody explains. And once you understand what might have happened in those 72 hours, you'll never see Easter the same way again. Chapter 1, When the Sky Turned Against Its Creator. It was not a poetic darkness. It was not a symbolic eclipse. At noon, the sky over Jerusalem collapsed into black. 3 hours, 3 full hours of unnatural darkness covered the land. Imagine standing there. You came to watch an execution. You expected blood, screams, entertainment. But instead, the sun vanished. The temperature dropped. The air thickened. Even hardened Roman soldiers shifted uneasily beneath their armor. This was not normal. This was not weather. This felt like creation itself was recoiling. On the center cross hung Jesus, not glowing, not majestic, barely recognizable. His back shredded from Roman scourging. His scalp punctured by thorns pressed deep into bone. His face swollen, dried blood crusted along his beard. Every breath was a battle. Crucifixion doesn't kill you by bleeding alone. It suffocates you. To inhale, he had to push his torn back against splintered wood. To exhale, he had to lift himself on nails driven through his wrists and feet. Up, down, every breath ripping skin open again. And in the darkness, he cries out, my God, why have you forsaken me?" That line has echoed through history. But pause. This is not weakness. This is quotation. Psalm 22. A prophetic psalm written centuries earlier, describing this exact moment. He wasn't losing faith. He was revealing fulfillment. But something deeper was happening. For the first time in eternity, the Son was experiencing separation, not because he sinned, but because he was absorbing it. Every betrayal, every murder, every secret thought no one knows about, every act of violence, every lie whispered in darkness, placed on him, the weight of human corruption pressing into a body already collapsing. And then he says it. It is finished. In Greek, tetelestai, not I am finished, but it is finished. A declaration, a legal term meaning paid in full. At that exact second, the earth convulsed, the ground split, rocks fractured open. Inside the temple, something unthinkable happened. The veil tore, 60 feet high, 4 inches thick, woven so dense that history says horses tied to either side couldn't rip it apart. And it tore from top to bottom, not man reaching up to God, God reaching down to man. The barrier separating humanity from the Holy of Holies, gone. But while the veil tore on earth, something else shifted in the unseen realm. Because when Jesus breathed his last, his body went limp, but his spirit did not cease. And this is where we slow down, because we've been taught to imagine death as unconsciousness. But Jesus told the thief beside him, "Today you will be with me in paradise." Today, which means the moment his physical body shut down, his consciousness transitioned, not into nothingness, but into another realm. Jewish understanding at the time described Sheol, the realm of the dead, as divided, a place of comfort called Abraham's bosom, and a place of torment. Between them, a fixed chasm. Jesus even referenced it in the story of the rich man and Lazarus. So ask yourself, if he promised today, then immediately after death, he went somewhere. Meanwhile, back on earth, Joseph of Arimathea rushes to Pilate. He requests the body. The sun is setting. Sabbath approaches. The body must be buried quickly. They remove the nails. Can you imagine that? The sound of metal sliding out of bone. Mary watches. The mother who once held him as a baby now holds a lifeless body. Nicodemus brings myrrh and aloes, 75 pounds of burial spices. They wrap him in linen, layer after layer, face covered, hands folded, placed in a borrowed tomb carved into stone. A heavy circular rock is rolled into place. Roman authorities, paranoid about prophecy, seal it. Guards are stationed. A wax insignia pressed into the stone. Break the seal, you face execution. From Earth's perspective, it is over. The Messiah is dead. Hope is buried. The disciples scatter. Peter is drowning in shame after denying him 3 times. John replays the crucifixion in his mind. Mary Magdalene sits in grief so deep it feels like suffocation. He raised others, but he did not save himself. Or did he? Because while Jerusalem settles into Sabbath silence, something unprecedented is unfolding beyond human sight. Death has received a new arrival, but this arrival is different. For thousands of years, death has swallowed humanity. Adam, Abraham, David, Isaiah, all went down, none returned by their own authority. But now, the one who said, "I am the life," has entered its gates. And here's the tension. Did death recognize him? Did the realm of the dead tremble? Or did it celebrate prematurely? Because if Satan believed the crucifixion was victory, he misunderstood the cross. The cross was not defeat, it was access. And the moment Jesus' spirit descended, the story did not pause, it intensified. Chapter 2, The Descent. When silence was not silence. The tomb is sealed. Jerusalem is asleep. Candles flicker behind locked doors where disciples whisper in panic. But in another realm, there is movement. The moment Jesus' physical body exhaled its final breath, his spirit did not fade into unconscious darkness. Death in Jewish understanding was never annihilation. It was transition. And Jesus had already described what that realm looked like. Peter gives us a sentence that feels almost too mysterious to touch. He was put to death in the flesh, but made alive in the spirit, in which he went and proclaimed to the spirits in prison. Picture it. For centuries, the realm of the dead has been predictable. Human souls arrive, they wait, they remember promises spoken by prophets, they cling to hope of a coming Messiah. Abraham waits, David waits, Isaiah waits, John the Baptist, freshly executed, waits. 4,000 years of longing. Then suddenly, the atmosphere shifts. A presence enters that is unlike any other. Not dim, not confused, not escorted by angels. He walks in with authority, the same authority that once commanded storms, and the righteous dead recognize him, because faith is recognition before sight. Abraham sees him and understands. David sees him. For centuries they believed. Now belief has a face, but this is only one side of the realm. There is another dimension, a darker region, the prison Peter references. Many theologians debate who these imprisoned spirits were. Some connect them to the rebellious spiritual beings described in Genesis 6, those who corrupted humanity before the flood. Ancient Jewish writings believe certain fallen beings were bound in chains of darkness, awaiting final judgment. Imagine that. Entities that once defied heaven, confined, waiting, and then the one they rebelled against steps into their prison, not as a victim, not as a broken body, but alive in spirit, not preaching repentance, proclaiming victory. The Greek word implies announcement, declaration. This is not evangelism. This is proclamation. Colossians later describes it this way. He disarmed the rulers and authorities and made a public spectacle of them, triumphing over them by the cross. Public spectacle, that is humiliation language. In Roman culture, a conquering king would parade defeated enemies through the streets. Is it possible that in the unseen realm something similar occurred? Not chaos, not a battle scene with swords clashing, something more terrifying, authority. Imagine chains that have never moved suddenly rattling. Imagine ancient rebellious spirits realizing the plan backfired, because if the cross paid for sin, then their leverage is gone. Picture two simultaneous realities. Above ground, a stone, guards, grief, silence. Below the visible realm, proclamation, recognition, terror among imprisoned forces, hope igniting among the faithful dead. And here's something deeply personal. The disciples thought God was inactive, but inactivity in the visible does not mean inactivity in the invisible. Back in Jerusalem, the chief priests sleep peacefully. They believe they prevented a movement. Rome believes it eliminated a threat. Satan believes he silenced the Son of God. But somewhere beyond physical sight, the Son is not silent. He is declaring. And death is learning something it has never learned before. It cannot hold the author of life. Chapter 3, the turning of the keys. The realm of the dead has always had one rule. Enter, stay, no one leaves. Death did not negotiate, it consumed. But now something unprecedented has happened. Life has entered death. Not borrowed life, not prophetic life, life itself. And when life steps into a system built on decay, the system begins to malfunction. And then something happens that Revelation later hints at. Jesus would one day declare, I hold the keys of death and Hades. Keys. Keys mean authority. Keys mean control. Keys mean access and release. Death had always held the key. Now the key changes hands. Picture this moment not as a sword fight, but as a legal transfer. Satan's greatest weapon was accusation. You are guilty. You have sinned. You belong here. And he wasn't wrong. Humanity did sin. The law demanded payment, but the cross paid it. So when Jesus stands in the realm of the dead, the accusation collapses. Because justice is no longer pending. It is fulfilled. Now ask yourself, what happens to a prison when the charges are dropped? Doors open. Matthew's gospel gives us a strange, almost overlooked detail. It says that when Jesus died, tombs broke open, and after his resurrection, Many holy people were raised and appeared to many in Jerusalem. Why mention that? Why include such an unusual detail? Because something was shifting beneath the surface. This wasn't just about one man rising, it was about access being restored. For thousands of years, the righteous waited in hope, but not yet in full access to the Father's presence. Sin blocked the way, but now the veil is torn. Above ground and below ground, access is open. The cross was not their victory, it was their exposure. Because what they thought would silence the Son actually fulfilled the plan written before the foundation of the world. Think about the psychological weight of that. From Satan's perspective, the crucifixion looked perfect. Betrayal, achieved, fear, spread, public humiliation, complete. The Son of God executed in disgrace. But what he didn't calculate was obedience. Jesus didn't die as a victim of chaos. He died willingly, and willing sacrifice disarms manipulation. So now in the depths, there is a proclamation. The debt is paid. The authority is reclaimed. Jesus does not escape like a fugitive. He prepares to rise as conqueror. The keys have changed hands. The prison's authority is broken. The righteous are no longer waiting in uncertainty, and death, for the first time in history, feels unstable. The system that swallowed billions is about to spit one back out. But not just one who changes the fate of every human who will ever live after him. The question now is not whether he will rise. The question is, what will happen when power that conquered death re-enters a physical body? Chapter 4. The moment death lost its grip. It is still dark. Jerusalem is asleep. The Sabbath has ended, but dawn has not yet broken. The city feels heavy, like the air before a storm. Roman guards stand at attention outside the tomb. Trained soldiers, disciplined, unemotional. They are not there for grief. They are there to prevent theft, because rumors are dangerous. This man said he would rise in 3 days. So Rome seals the stone, wax pressed with imperial authority. Break the seal, you die. They are confident. Dead men do not move stones. Inside the tomb, it is silent. The linen is still wrapped around a lifeless body, cold, motionless, wounds visible, blood dried along torn flesh. For nearly 3 days, this body has not moved, and then something shifts. Not outside, inside. Somewhere beyond human sight, the spirit that descended now returns, not summoned, not forced, returning by authority. And in a moment that no human eye witnessed, life re-enters what death claimed. Nerves ignite, cells awaken, flesh responds. The stone was never to let him out. It was to let witnesses in before any angel moves the rock. He is already alive. And when that life fully stands, the earth reacts. A violent earthquake rips through the ground, not symbolic, physical. The guards stumble. The stone trembles, and heaven finally breaks the silence. An angel descends, not floating gently, not delicate. Matthew describes it with force, like lightning, radiant, terrifying. The guards freeze. These are hardened Roman soldiers. They have seen blood, war, execution. But this makes them shake. The angel does not struggle with the stone. He rolls it away and sits on it. Sits, as if to say, authority rests here now. Inside the tomb, the linen cloth that covered Jesus' face is folded, not tossed aside, not rushed, intentional. Because resurrection is not chaos, it is control. Now pause, think about what just happened. For thousands of years, death swallowed humanity without resistance. But now one man walked in, took the key, and walked out. Death did not release him, he exited. And here's the part that changes everything. He did not rise only for himself. He rose as the first fruits, meaning others will follow. The system of death has been cracked from the inside. Back in the city, Mary Magdalene is on her way to the tomb, not with expectation, with spices. She is not looking for resurrection. She is preparing for decay. Because hope feels dangerous now, and this is important. The first witnesses of resurrection were not confident believers. They were devastated followers, which means resurrection was not hallucination. It was interruption. Mary arrives. The stone is gone. Her heart drops. They've taken him. Even now she assumes theft, not triumph, because sometimes God fulfills promises in ways so powerful we don't recognize them at first. Meanwhile, the guards, terrified, they will later be bribed to lie. Say the disciples stole him, because the truth is too disruptive. If Rome admits resurrection, authority collapses. If religious leaders admit resurrection, their verdict collapses, so they choose control over truth. But truth does not disappear because it is denied. It spreads. And right now, in a garden near a tomb, resurrection stands breathing morning air. The war beneath the surface is finished. The prison is breached. The keys are in his hand. Now comes the reveal. But here's the deeper question. Why didn't he immediately appear to Pilate? Why not confront the priests? Why not walk straight into the temple courts in blazing glory? Why reveal himself slowly, personally, intimately? Chapter 5. The first witness, and why it wasn't a king. If you were God, and you just conquered death, who would you appear to first? Pilate? The high priest? Caesar? Wouldn't you walk straight into the temple courts, light blazing from your wounds, and say, "I told you so"? But that's not what he does. The risen Christ does not march into Rome. He walks into a garden, and he waits. Mary Magdalene is crying, not gentle tears, the kind that shake your chest. She had 7 demons cast out of her years earlier. She knew darkness. She knew bondage. And she knew the freedom that came when Jesus called her by name. He gave her dignity, identity, belonging. And now he is gone. She turns around, and there he is, standing behind her, alive. But she doesn't recognize him. Not yet. Maybe through tears. Maybe because resurrection glory is different. Maybe because sometimes we don't expect God to show up in the middle of our heartbreak. She assumes he's the gardener. "Sir, if you've carried him away, tell me where you've laid him." She's still thinking theft, still thinking loss. And then he says one word, "Mary." That's it. Not a sermon, not thunder, her name. And something in the way he says it breaks through grief, the voice that cast out demons, the voice that calmed storms, the voice that once said, "Your faith has made you well." Recognition floods her. "Rabboni, teacher." She reaches for him, clings to him, as if to say, "Don't disappear again." And he says something mysterious. "Do not cling to me, for I have not yet ascended to the Father." Not rejection, redirection. Because resurrection is not a return to the old normal. It's the beginning of something new. And here's what's revolutionary. In a culture where a woman's testimony held little legal weight, Jesus chooses Mary as the first witness. Not Peter, not John. Mary, why? Because resurrection isn't about power displays. It's about restoration. The one once bound by demons becomes the first preacher of the risen Christ. She runs to the disciples. "I have seen the Lord." But they don't believe her. Of course they don't. Grief makes resurrection sound impossible. Meanwhile, 2 disciples are walking to a village called Emmaus, 7 miles from Jerusalem, 7 miles of confusion. They are talking about the crucifixion, trying to make sense of shattered expectations. We had hoped he was the one, had hoped, past tense, and Jesus walks up beside them, unrecognized again. He asks what they're discussing. They are almost offended. Are you the only one who doesn't know what happened? The irony is overwhelming. They are explaining the cross to the one who endured it. And then he does something powerful. He doesn't immediately reveal himself. He opens scripture, starting with Moses, through the prophets, showing how the Messiah had to suffer before entering glory. Suffering before glory, cross before crown. It was always the pattern. Their hearts begin to burn inside them as he speaks. Not because they see him, but because truth ignites something in their spirit. They reach the village. He acts as though he will continue on. They urge him to stay. At dinner, he breaks bread, and in the breaking, their eyes are opened. Recognition. And just as suddenly, he vanishes. Not because he's playing games, but because resurrection body is not bound by ordinary space. They run back to Jerusalem in the dark, 7 miles again, this time not in despair, but in fire. He's alive! Back in the locked room, the disciples are hiding, doors shut, fear thick in the air, and suddenly, he is standing among them. No knock, no creaking door, just presence. Peace be with you. Of course, that's the first thing he says, because they are terrified. They think they're seeing a spirit, a ghost. But he says something astonishing. Touch me. Spirits don't have flesh and bones. He shows them his hands, his side. The wounds are still there. Why keep the scars? Because resurrection doesn't erase suffering. It redeems it. The scars are not weakness. They are trophies. Proof of payment. Proof of love. Proof that death did its worst and failed. And in that locked room, something shifts. Fear begins dissolving. Hope returns. But one disciple isn't there. Thomas. And when they tell him, he refuses to believe. Unless I see the nail marks, unless I put my hand in his side. Doubt, raw, honest. And Jesus doesn't shame him. A week later, he appears again. Thomas, come here. Touch the wounds. Stop doubting. Believe. And Thomas falls to his knees. My Lord and my God. Not just teacher, not prophet, God. The resurrection is not a single event. It is a sustained reality. But one question still lingers. If he conquered death, if he reclaimed authority, if he appeared to many, why not stay? Why ascend? Why leave again? Chapter 6. Ascension. When heaven and earth reconciled 40 days. 4 decades of prophecy in one body. 4,000 years of human expectation converging on a single reality. He walked among his disciples, not hidden, not timid, every word deliberate, every act revealing authority. He taught, he corrected, he encouraged, he prepared them. Because resurrection is not just a miracle, it is training, preparation for a mission that will outlive time. Imagine being a disciple. You've just survived grief that crushed your soul. You saw your teacher executed. You ran in fear, denial burning on your tongue. And now he is walking among you, alive, triumphant, wounded, yet untouchable by death. He reminds them of everything. The scriptures had to be fulfilled. The Spirit will come. You will receive power. He doesn't just give instructions. He reveals reality. A universe once shadowed by sin now has a path open to restoration. Then the moment comes. They are on a hill, the Mount of Olives. He speaks blessings over them. He lifts his hands, and slowly, not as a rush, but with the weight of eternity, he begins to ascend, not floating, not merely rising, ascending with authority. The earth shakes, heaven opens, clouds gather, not storms, but witnesses. Angels appear, not to fight, not to serve, but to proclaim, this same Jesus who was taken from you into heaven will come back in the same way you saw him go into heaven. The disciples stand frozen, the tension of fear, hope, doubt, and awe intertwining. Because what they are seeing cannot be reduced to human terms. The body that overcame death, the spirit that descended into the dead, the power that broke the prison of sin, now ascends to the throne of the universe. And in that moment, the cosmic order shifts. Heaven and earth are reconciled. The gates of death are forever breached. Authority is established. But there's more. He does not leave them helpless. Before ascending, he commands, "Go, make disciples of all nations, baptize them, teach them, not wait, not observe. Go!" Because resurrection is not a trophy, it is a mandate. The one who walked through death now entrusts humanity with the continuation of his victory. And then it happens. A cloud hides him from sight. The disciples stare into the sky. They don't fully comprehend yet. The cross looked like defeat. The tomb looked like finality. Saturday felt silent, but resurrection and ascension proved one immutable truth. Death is temporary, sin is defeated, authority belongs to the risen Christ, and we, all who follow, inherit access to the same power. Not immediately visible, not always convenient, but eternal. Because the Son of God entered death, he left life, and he changed the rules forever. So when we stand in grief, when we stand in doubt, when the silence of Saturday feels endless, remember, the war has already been won. The keys have been taken, the tomb is empty, and heaven itself has declared victory.